How to connect up your home voiceover studio. Now in this video I'll take you through various configurations from very simple recording to a fairly complex setup where you'll be able to play back your recorded takes on your computer back to remote clients on directed sessions, which isn't as easy as you may think. So, are you a naturally technical person? You see, as a kid, I was forever wiring up mixers, and my first ever job was an engineer at BBC Radio's World Service. So I guess you'd say that tech things come naturally for me. I think it's fun, but I do understand people who have almost a fear of audio production. But you know, learning about the technical side is just as important as the performance side of voice work, as you'll find out when, for example, a client may love your voice and how you tackle their script, but you're struggling to deliver the type of files they want, the levels they're talking about, or they've given you a complex voice-to-video job that has to match time codes and so on. So if you're out of your depth technically in any area, it really is worthwhile learning this stuff. You do not want to pay money to other people to do the tech stuff for you. Anyway, connecting it all up, here we go. Now I assume you've got a decent, quiet and padded recording area and a good quality analog microphone with an XLR connector. It looks like this, right? XLR. And USB microphones are, yes, they're inexpensive and they do sound good, but they're really not suitable for the wide range of styles and volume level ranges of voiceover and acting work. So for all these configurations I'm giving you, I assume you'll use XLR connected microphones that use 48 volts phantom power to work. Connection configuration 1, basic setup. Now if you're just starting out, the easiest thing to do is to plug your microphone into a solid state digital recorder with a sturdy wire. Then after recording, you'll simply connect the solid state machine to your computer via a USB lead to edit the waveforms. Or you could even take the SD card out and insert it into your laptop or whatever. Of course, this is eventually going to wear out the connections and take longer to do than what I'll show you next, but it's a good, simple start. Any old solid-state machine with XLR inputs and phantom power capability will be absolutely fine, as digital quality is digital quality, and you can get used solid-state audio recorders very inexpensively on eBay or whatever. So, connection configuration 2, everyday voiceover recordings. It's far easier to have your microphone, of course, connected all the time to your computer and where you do your recordings. But you don't do this via the computer microphone in jack. Just ignore this. In fact, for this configuration, you're going to ignore the entire sound card inside your computer. Your voiceover microphone will need 48 volts DC to work. It's called phantom power. It's called that because the power is sent down the actual connection cable, right? So it saves using a separate cable for power. Clever stuff, eh? So you need a device to provide this 48 volts power, as well as the ability to give you much more flexibility as a professional voice artist. So you need this, a USB interface box. Now, there are very many different brands out there. Steinberg and Focusrite are the best sellers in this market. Let's stick with a Focusrite Solo model. I've got one of these. It has one XLR input, which is fine for our voiceover needs. But if you're doing a double-headed podcast in your studio, you and someone else, you may wish to consider a dual input USB interface. But here's how to connect it up. Use the shortest and best quality XLR to XLR lead you can buy, male to female, to connect your microphone to the input of the USB interface. Then connect up the USB interface box with a USB cable to your computer. And as soon as you plug it in, it should recognize it right away. In your computer's audio settings, change the default audio in for recording and out for playback to Focusrite or whatever your box is called. In your audio recording software, you'll also need to do this under the usually called hardware interface option. So you're effectively using your USB interface box as a complete replacement for the computer's sound card. It'll be much better quality and much more flexible. And the control knob next to the input, that controls the input to the computer from your microphone. The monitor control changes the output, and just ignore the line in. Just keep that down at all times. Now you can monitor your voice by plugging headphones in here and clicking the Direct Monitor button. Now why would you ever want to switch this Direct Monitor button off? Surely you want to hear yourself all the time. Well, to edit using loudspeakers, you'll need to take the output from the back of the USB interface. There's 2 1/4-inch jack sockets on this one here, and you need to connect those to powered speakers or an amplifier. One if you like. It's only mono, but it's usually best to do 2. With the Direct Monitor button still on, if you're blasting your voice out over the loudspeakers, that'll create nasty howl rounds. That's why you need to switch it on and off. So, connection configuration 3, directed session setup. So this configuration is similar to the last one, but with one very important change. And you may well need this for directed voiceover sessions. I say may because many directed sessions, in other words, you're in your booth, you've got your headphones on, you're connected by a system like, well, I've got Source Connect, but it may be Session Link Pro, it may be just Zoom or Whereby or something, doesn't matter. But the client may be in a professional studio somewhere in the world. So because they're in a proper audio studio, it means they can hear your takes and they have the ability to record your takes at their end. Now, obviously, they're recording down the internet. The quality will be slightly poorer than what you've got at your end. So that means that you're recording at your end and send them all the rushes afterwards, okay? So you record everything, send the hopefully excellent quality 24-bit WAV file to the client after the directed session so they can replace the poor quality Zoom or whatever with your studio recorded versions of the right takes for the project. Now, if they are recording at their end, they can play back your recordings and check them with the clients there. That's good, isn't it? Let's have another go, or whatever. And you're just sitting there waiting. So that's fine. They can even check them and add your rough audio or roughly recorded audio to the TV ad or corporate video they have there in the studio to see if your takes fit for voice style, timings, and whatever. However, what if you're dealing with independent producers, maybe working from home, who are not in a studio facility, all right? Let's say you deliver a brilliant take and the client asks you to play it back from your end. So you stop your recording software, such as Adobe Audition, you got it in front of you there, whiz the cursor back and you play the take for them to check. You can hear your voice in your headphones, but they can't hear it. Pete, can you play? No, I am playing it, but we can't hear it. I can hear it here. So why is that? Why is it that you can hear your own voice in your headphones and you can hear the playback from the computer, but the client can't hear the computer playback if they can hear your voice loud and clear? Well, think about how you've configured the connection system, be it Zoom, Source Connect, Google Meet, Teams, list goes on, doesn't matter. In your computer, you would have selected the USB box, say Focusrite, for input and output, all right? So you can hear the computer playback via the USB lead and you monitoring via the headphones into the box. But the client can't because they're just listening to the main output of the USB box, which just has your microphone connected to it. So that's why they can only hear your microphone and not the audio playback. Now, it took me a while to get this around my head as well, to be honest. If you're still bemused, if you're still confused, play back what I've just said. All right? But look, here's how to sort this problem without mucking about with any pesky and complicated loopback systems and different software you can buy. And forget that. Now, remember the 1/4-inch jack sockets at the back of the USB box that could be connected to loudspeakers? Well, you need to connect these 1/4-inch sockets to the line input of your computer. Now that's usually a little stereo mini jack, so you'll need a special splitter Y cable that you'll find on Amazon or whatever, or a mini mono jack usually will work fine, as us voiceovers of course only have one mouth. Everything we do is mono, so that's easy for Windows, by the way. If you're a Mac, well, you may well need to buy an adapter to wire up this important hack. So in Zoom, Source Connect, or whatever internet system you're using to talk to your client and the client to talk to you, you select Focusrite, or the name of your USB connection box, for output. But you select computer line in for input, right? Sorry if this sounds confusing, but honestly it works. Now doing it this way, the client can hear both you and any playback from your computer, whether it's voiceover take, music, video, audio, or whatever. In fact, in a voiceover directed session, sometimes as well as asking for playback of your last take to make sure they liked it, when you're inserting your voice into an existing video that has a non-English voice on, and you have this video sent to you, you can then play back the sound from the next section to remind the client what you're doing next. So it's really useful. So in other words, not just your audio playback from audition or whatever, you can play back a video and they can hear the sound at their end as well. And you can share your screen and they can see the video if you want. So you can get further splitter cables as well to do it, as well as connecting to loudspeaker monitors, by the way, out of the back of your USB box. But to be honest, the more cables around may well bring buzz or hum into the mix, which you don't want. What I do personally is simply pull out the loudspeaker plugs and plug in those extra leads that connect to the line in of my Windows computer only just before a directed session. Now note that you may have to adjust the audio levels in the Windows control panel, but that's actually an advantage to the normal system, because usually to boost the volume to the client, can't hear you, Pete, so you've got to turn it up a bit. If you boost the input, well, you could distort. So now you can boost their feed direct from Windows control panel. Finally, and I'm sorry if this is sounding so complicated now, but when it's sorted, all right? The other wiring up considerations you'll need to get right are, of course, to do with your computer. Now, when you're starting out, yes, you can read scripts from your phone and all that sort of thing, but ideally you'll need a decent-sized computer screen in front of you when recording, and do your editing on that screen as well afterwards, unless you want to do it in another location. But even quiet, solid-state drives need cooling, so ideally the computer body would be just outside the voice booth or recording area, so your sensitive microphone doesn't pick up the pesky fan noise. So you'll need to consider USB, HDMI, and power extension cables for the monitor, mouse, keyboard, and so on. Look, I've gone on too long. I hope you found it all useful, and I haven't scared you too much if you're a bit of a technophobe. A reminder, we've got a whole wide range of voiceover courses at voiceovermasterclass.com. So whether you need to brush up further technical skills or take a course on voice improvement or character voices, please check out what we have on offer there, voiceovermasterclass.com. Thanks very much for watching and good luck.